Okay, hello everyone. So in this video, I'm going to cover about the battle for merger. In particular, we are going to find out a little bit more about this big point. Why did the group of people called the Barisan Socialists oppose the merger? Okay, so first thing you want to know is who are the Barisan Socialists? The Barisan Socialists are opposition party. The PAP were the ruling party. The Barisan Socialists were the opponent. They were the opposition party. They used to be part of the PAP, but later they left the PAP because they disagreed with what the PAP did, including wanting to merge in Malaya. So why did the Barisan Socialists, they did not support merger? Why did they not support merger? Let's find out a little bit more on the next page, okay? So the leaders like Lim Chin Siong, Fong Swee Suan, these are all the leaders of the Barisan Society. Good of you all to know the names in case you know source base or what they show, you know that they are referring to Barisan Socialists. Okay, so let's look at the next page. Okay, so why did the Barisan Socialists oppose merger? You want to note down a few reasons. Oops, what happened? Okay, why did they oppose merger? A few reasons. First reason, okay, you want to talk about citizenship. Okay, they are very concerned that citizenship will not be given to Singapore citizens. That means we can only vote in Singapore elections. Okay, citizenship. Okay, SG citizens cannot vote in Malaysian election. Okay, why is the Malaysian election important, you might ask, when we are in Singapore? You just need to know that in Malaysia, there is a higher government called the Malaysia government. Okay, Malaysia government. Okay, sorry, let me rewrite this. Okay, in Singapore, in Malaysia, there was the Malaysian government. And at the top, below it, they have many different government, of which one of the government was the Singapore government running Singapore. There are many different parts of Malaysia. So there are many small government add together. They were led by the Malaysian government. So in the case of Singapore, the Barisan Socialists are very worried that the Singapore citizens, they can only vote for the Singapore government. They will not be able to decide who is the part of the bigger, higher government, the Malaysian government or the central government. So they thought that it's not a good deal. We join Malaysia, but we cannot have a say in how the bigger country, Malaysia, is run. So they are very unhappy with this arrangement. So first thing, they are not happy with the citizenship. We cannot vote for Malaysian government. Okay, so that is the first concern. Now, what are some other concerns that they have? Okay, you can see below things like, will citizens be able to move freely or leave federation? They are very worried that Singapore will not get the freedom to move into Malaysia in and out easily. So we might be treated as second-class citizen, basically. Okay. Other reasons why the Barisan Socialists oppose merger, you can talk about the allocations of seats. Okay. What does this mean? You can see that Singapore only have 15 seats, while Borneo and Sarawak have more seats. Even though they have a smaller population, Singapore got fewer seats than them. Okay, that means these people in Borneo and Sarawak, they can choose more leaders. People in Singapore, they cannot choose many political leaders. So what does this mean, basically? It basically means SG have fewer leaders in Malaysian government. Okay, just now we talked about how there's Malaysian government and Singapore government, right? So they realized that the people in the Malaysian government, the number of Singaporeans inside are very few compared to other parts of Malaysia. So Singapore don't have a big say in how the Malaysian government overall is run. Okay, so citizenship issue, and number two, the number of seats, okay, in Singapore, assigned for Singapore was unfair. You can see that in this graph here, Singapore, if we go by the population size, a bigger country should have more seats in the government, get more representatives. Singapore should have 24 based on its size, but it was only given 15 seats. Okay, other countries like Borneo, Sarawak, they are so small, but they get more seats. They get more say in the Malaysian government. So the Barisan Sosialis felt that this is very unfair. Singapore is being treated very unfairly. Okay, so that is basically the Barisan Sosialis view. But the PAP still tried their best to convince people in Singapore that it's the best decision for Singapore. So the PAP had a campaign, the Barisan Sosialis had a campaign, and this campaign we call it the Battle for Merger. The PAP wanted to convince Singaporeans to support merger. The Barisan Sosialists wanted to convince Singaporeans to oppose merger. Okay, so they go and campaign, there are talks, there are posters to go and persuade people. Eventually, there's this thing called a referendum. A referendum, what is a referendum? A referendum is basically a vote, okay? There was a vote or election carried out to let people in Singapore decide, do you want merger or not? Okay, but unfortunately, the PAP government, they decided to give Singaporeans a chance to choose between three types of merger. They did not give Singaporeans a chance to oppose merger because the three options are all choosing merger, but in various forms only. Okay, you need to know the forms. I don't think very important. Okay, but eventually what happened? The Barisan Sosialists, they asked them, okay, if you don't want merger, just go to the voting booth and submit a blank vote. Eventually, you realize that, okay, only 25% of the people cast a blank vote. 25% of the people oppose merger. Okay, and eventually, what did the PAP do? The people are very happy. Singapore now support merger. Singaporeans are supportive of merger. The Malaysian government also accepted Singapore already because remember, Tunku Abdul Rahman changed its mind to accept Singapore. So now Singapore can finally merge with Malaysia officially. Okay, but before we end off the merger story, the Singapore government decide to weaken the Barisan Sosialists a little bit more because the Barisan Sosialists until now has been creating a lot of trouble. They have been opposing merger, okay, trying to persuade Singapore to oppose the PAP even. Okay, so they decided to arrest many of the Barisan Socialist leaders. Okay, they accused them of sabotaging the formation of Malaysia. Okay, and the arrest is called Operation Cold Store. And because many of the leaders were arrested, okay, the Barisan Socialists were very weak and they lost the 1963 election as well. So the PAP became very strong after the merger referendum, and they were in a very strong position to govern Singapore. Okay, so that is our journey towards merger. Okay, Malaysia became formed. So Singapore plus Malaya plus Sabah and Sarawak became Malaysia, the bigger country. And the British officially can let go of Singapore now because now we have Malaysia to take care of Singapore. Okay, so that is for merger. In the next video, we're going to cover why did Singapore ultimately choose to separate from Malaysia after going through so much to merge with Malaysia. Okay, that is for the next part of the video.